Our first speaker today is Dawn Wages from Philadelphia in the USA. She is broadcasting live. Dawn is a queer woman of color, former project manager turned JavaScript and Python software developer, and spends her time consulting with the Two Rock software team. Dawn will not be taking questions during her talk, but she'll be in the chat room afterwards in the flip-flopperator hallway track. So you can catch her there after her talk. Without any further ado, take it away, Dawn.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And this is my second talk like this, and it gets a little bit easier, but still a little weird. Hoping to see all of you all after the talk on Vinyless. So we'll keep up there. So as mentioned before, I'm giving a talk on GatsbyJS, Wagtail, and GitPod. Don't worry if all those words or some of those words are completely foreign to you. This is an introduction talk and given to a PyCon audience that does not necessarily have experience with any of these technologies. But fundamentally, the talk is better understood experience with Django and web frameworks. And I kind of jump in, and also don't get scary. There's a little bit of JavaScript that we're going to have on screen as well. All right. So as I mentioned, my name is Dawn. You can find me on Twitter. I used to tweet too much. Now I tweet almost too much. As Dawn Wages says, I am a Wagtail core team member. I'm also a Django and React consultant. I consult independently with my company, Rugby Street Designs. But I also am a consultant with an excellent team called Two Rock Software, and we are a Django shop. I live in Philly, and I am a dog mom and a queer woman of color. And that is my puppy. He's not really a puppy anymore. He's forever a puppy. All right, so let's get into the meat of it. So we're going to be exploring what Wagtail and Gatsby can do. So this is somewhat of a case study. As a consultant, I am really looking for projects and being able to deliver quickly, easily, and with a great developer experience. Both independently, Wagtail and Gatsby frameworks strive to do that. I'm still going to give a little bit more information on what these do, but Gatsby is a progressive web apps generator. So many of you may be familiar with static site generators. Gatsby is very much the same thing, also called a static site generator, but a new flavor of such as it starts out in, you write in React in the back end. It dehydrates, distills down as static site generators typically do, and then will rehydrate into what feels like and looks like a progressive web app. Really, really exciting. So why do all of these things? I like new and shiny things. It's really fun for me. I love being a perpetual learner, and I already had a background in Wagtail. Wagtail is a Django CMS. Has all the Python core, all of the things that Django can do, and all of the ways you can creatively integrate Python projects and Python packages with the Django framework. You can also do with Wagtail with a lot of extra special flavors in there. Wagtail has its own models that you can import, and also its own admin that makes it incredibly easy to hand over to the end client and have the content manager be able to drag and drop and click things in an even more intuitive way than the Django admin out of the box will let you do. So it's both frameworks really emphasize the desire to have a great and streamlined experience. And when I want to have small, medium-sized clients or personal projects and want to whip something up quickly without sacrificing design or performance, this is a stack that I would love to use. And I was out to figure out if I could have it all. So future versions of this talk and more information from this talk will be available on my website, glittertech.dev. I also will continue to be blogging for Two Rock Software. Please look out for that. And as such, it will all be linked in with the Wagtail core team updates and things like that. So please keep track of what I'm doing. If you're interested in either contributing more to the documentation, there's not a lot out there quite yet for this, but I'll provide some of the resources on a slide a little bit later on what I used and some of the pain points that I went through. All right, so like I mentioned, both frameworks have really excellent and active communities. Gatsby is known for being really kind of JavaScript-esque fun framework community. They give out a lot of swag. They love developer experiences. Both have sprints on accessibility. Specifically, Wagtail I've been a part of updates and has recently had, this past January, had a sprint on accessibility 2020. And Gatsby, even in indicative of a site generator, those are very easily processed by bots and by readers, and highly performant and really puts in the latest web standards. Their plugin architecture, both Wagtail and Gatsby, and highly secure. It's also a feature of static site generators that they are very secure, because one of the reasons is that it gathers and collects all the data necessary beforehand, and then it pulls it and it re-renders the site only with the data necessary to display what you're looking for without having repeated calls back to the server side, which is much safer for in experience. So I started this with minimal experience with Gatsby and GraphQL, and not to spoil a surprise, those were the biggest pain points. I'll talk more about those and put a little bit on the screen just to show you how scary it is. But it doesn't have to be scary. One of the things that when I got through, and will continue to show on in the tutorial, was that there, about a little bit over a dozen steps, and then you have a deployed site. And I'm looking to make it easy for everyone. We'll also be discussing Netlify and GitPod. Netlify is similar to Heroku with different types of features, and they have a different niche in the market, also providing domains. And they also have CMSs that I've tried and compared to Wagtail, but truly pale in comparison. So one of the reasons why I wanted to continue with Wagtail and then deploy with Netlify is also they deploy easily together. And GitPod is a browser IDE. If you've used Cloud9 or if you've used Code Sandbox, you've used something similar. One of the cool things about GitPod is that you can have your, it's all based off of a Docker image, and you can also have shell scripts to spin up an instance and of Wagtail immediately, and I will be showing you that as well. Lots to come. We'll get through it in 25 minutes together, and also there are more resources, so you can look at this later. All right. So why Headless Wagtail? So one of the reasons Wagtail was really important, I don't really need to sing the song, sing the praises of Wagtail if you're familiar, and I highly suggest going back and looking at some of the Wagtail conference videos. We just had Wagtail Space earlier this summer in July. It was an amazing group of people, and truly have like a fantastic feature set associated with it. Some things involving the way that the pages are associated with sibling and child pages make it intuitive for a commonly used CMS. So there's a division of responsibilities, and when you're using Headless Wagtail, you're putting all of the data into a big bucket to be more flexible with the way that you use it. And then Wagtail also structures a lot of the elements that they provide for you in a way that's conducive to atomic design. And atomic design is great for progressive web apps and JavaScript and ECMAScript front ends. One of the sites that I recommend is done by another Wagtail core team member, Caleb. I recommend visiting Learn Wagtail, and there's a ton about learning Headless Wagtail there as well. So why Gatsby? I already have a background in React, and as I mentioned, I'm also interested in really fun, shiny new things. Some of the key features of React are already there, reusable components, as I mentioned, atomic design. And then you can also use just regular vanilla JavaScript in there as well, just like you can in React. Lots of things are responsive, like images, and the CEO is excellent. That's indicative of React as well as static site generators. The screenshot I have to the left is the Gatsby starter page. I will also continue to tell you a little bit more about Gatsby starters. I am not a front-end developer. No desire to learn how to be a designer, and not yet. And the starter page has hundreds of starter apps that look really, really great and sleek and streamlined, and some of which are like one-click buttons where you can deploy to like Netlify CMS. I want to be able to take that beautiful front end that is already built out, tweak it for my purposes, connect it with Wagtail, structure the data appropriately, and deploy, and do that quickly and easily. So more on why Gatsby. The starting is super simple. You can start with the Gatsby CLI. It really is, after you npm install globally Gatsby CLI, you do Gatsby new, and then you use the GitHub URL for the desired site, well, the name of the site, and then the GitHub URL, and then it automatically provides that site and the appropriate structure within the directory that you specified. It uses a lot of different sources, and so you can use Markdown in there. And for those of you who are familiar with like Hugo or static site generators like that, do similar things. So one of the great things or interesting things about Gatsby is that you have GraphQL built in, and well, you're adding GraphQL, and it works intuitively with Gatsby. So it's no complex server startup. It's scalable, and so when you're using Gatsby, it has this GraphQL interactive code Explorer, where you are able to query and look into what your data objects are returning, and without knowing exactly what the structure is going to look like, especially if it's coming from several different endpoints, you're able to click down and navigate through. I will continue to, when I talk more about the tutorial, I'll talk about the setup and the things needed to have GraphQL, but definitely GraphQL was one of the packages that was needed to be installed. So here's some of my resources. Don't worry, I'll show them again at the end of the slides. Definitely Wagtail and Gatsby docs are incredible, and so I always start there. Both also have lots of YouTube tutorials. Caleb from Learn Wagtail has tons of videos available for free on YouTube, but also on his site. And then Gatsby will publish lots and lots of free tutorials, as well as a lot of fans of Gatsby will publish tutorials online as well. So it's really great. Two of the resources from Tamaz Napnik at Torchbox. These were guides. They were not finished versions of, but they did guide me in the right direction and can provide more resources for later. And so I'm really hoping at the end of the talk, I'm inspiring people to be really excited about the stack and to help contribute with it. And so if you are, please meet me on the Headless Wagtail front-end, GraphQL API, Wagtail Slack channels. I will also be randomly hanging out on the Django Con ones as well, and you can definitely find me on Twitter. So here we have the basic structure of the app. So if you are familiar with Django, you'll see that the blog app that I have is a typical start app blog. You have the admin, the app, models.py, tests, and views. You'll keep going down. Home is an app always created with Wagtail when out of the box. It helps with the hierarchical structure of the way that Wagtail automatically provides your pages. We have a media folder. My site is the name of the application, is the root where our settings are. We have search, which comes out of the box with from Wagtail, and then the site directory is where we have our Gatsby app. So on the right side, this does get a little bit small, but this should look very familiar with any of you who have done a progressive web app on the front end, either Angular or very similar to React. You do have your source and then your components. In there, you have various JS files with each of your components in there. You can see layout.css. So you can have the CSS right next to your components, or you can also split them out into files. It may not be obvious. And then we have images. That image is one that was created from, that was uploaded in the backend and was specified a path. And then we have default for pages and base pages, home page, etc. I'll give you a second to look over here. Okay, so how about we start with the Gatsby config file? This also may be a little hard to see, but I'll be talking through it. So we start out by describing the Wagtail endpoint. And then this is where we have our plugin structure and site metadata. So each of those objects underneath plugins, we start out with Gatsby source Wagtail. Gatsby source GraphQL, but we also have React Helmet. We have Transformer, Gatsby Transformer Sharp, which is for pictures, and Gatsby plugin Sharp. But there are dozens and dozens of plugins that you can use. Some are e-commerce plugins and things like that. So yes, as I mentioned, tons of plugins. Here's a few just off the top that were really exciting. So I recommend getting into Gatsby and learning a little bit more and teaching me some of these because I haven't used all of these yet. Okay, so let's talk about what a blog page could look like. So these are not screenshots from the functioning code on the tutorial, but these are examples of what the blog page can look like. The structure will be slightly different in the tutorial, but we're starting out by importing. This is looking very, very much like a React app. We are accessing the Wagtail data. This is the object structure of, you see const page equals data.wagtail pages, Wagtail core page here. This is similar to what the structure is for the Wagtail app. When we are using Wagtail GraphQL, it automatically connects us GraphQL and the Wagtail endpoint models together and lets us be able to query them. All right. I'm going to keep moving pretty quickly. This is another important one, Gatsby Node.js. This is the root of our file. This is where we start creating all of the individual pages. So upon startup, this is the heart of what the static site generator will do, and takes the pages that you've written and then it exports them into the end application, and then we see the GraphQL query doing that final pull. Here's a little closer view of what that GraphQL query can look like. Very similar to this. All right, so let's review. How difficult was it to navigate the project? With the experience I had, I'd say like a 5 out of 10. I mean, we all come with different experience levels and different skills. So it wasn't the easiest to figure out how to connect the two together. So I'm going to zoom a little bit through what GitPod is. Hopefully you decide to look into its features a little bit more, and it will also be on the tutorial. So what we do is we start out with a fully deployed Wagtail app and the environment settings ready for us to start coding. And this is also the beginning of the tutorial where we start integrating the GraphQL, or excuse me, the Gatsby app. Gatsby front end. So GitPod is a pre-built development environment for any environment like GitLab, GitHub, or Bitbucket. If you just want to jump in and start playing with a project in a sandbox environment, you are able to commit code directly from the command line. It also has an in-browser browser, and it can export to a new tab as well. The workspace is also disposable, which can be a little wonky. If you leave something for too long, it will delete your workspace within 14 days. But you can have up to 16 workspaces, and it's as easy as going to that workspace on GitPod, clicking that button, opening GitPod, and it brings you to this, which is pretty cool. And so this is what a Wagtail site looks like out of the box. Here is the GitPod YAML file. We start out with a super user admin change me, and these are the steps it goes through to create the environment that is perfect for us. And we can also deploy with Netlify. I recommend Tom Dyson's Wagtail Netlify deploy GitHub, and tons of resources from Tom is great. A quick review, a quick look at what the tutorial is going to look like. There are 17 steps this is truly the entire tutorial in very brief form. I hope you can get a chance to come back and look at this. Very, very similar to the steps that I mentioned previously and just highlighted briefly, but here they are in concrete form. All right, so was it successful? Yes, yes it was. Highly performant, CRUD site, working quickly, GraphQL playground. Getting them to play nicely, Wagtail Grapple definitely helped, but the learning curve on understanding GraphQL in particular, even with my React knowledge, was tricky. Next up, so I would like to publish a Gatsby Wagtail starter, so we start beyond where just the Wagtail tutorial or the Wagtail starter would. We have a detailed talk here today, at a more detailed talk here today at PyCon Australia. We do have a blog post to set up the process, and we'll continue to be blogging more on building out the experience. The whole point is that both frameworks are incredibly scalable, and then having a companion demo app. There you go. Keep sticking me to different places. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so I will not be taking questions today, but I will be around and I'm happy to chat online, and would hope to hear back from you if you have any questions.
Hey, thank you so much, Dawn. I really enjoy hearing about unorthodox combinations of technologies that actually solve real problems. So I loved hearing about that. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time at PyCon AU. As Dawn said, she'll be taking questions in the hallway track for a while, so you can catch her there. We will be starting our next talk at 11 a.m. So we will sign out now, and we'll see you in about 7 minutes. Cool. See you soon.
Bye.